participants. It's a matter of great honor to be utilizing this platform and sharing some perspectives about the future of higher education in the present pandemic situation. I would like to introduce a perspective which in some ways is very similar to what Her Excellency mentioned. I would like to say that if you look at what the learning outcomes are expected from an university education, how can we use this adversity while we do not have the facility of a face-to-face classroom situation? How can we still make the best use of what is possible, what is doable, and ensure that these learning outcomes are delivered in a better way? We all know that despite having face-to-face classroom interactions in thousands of colleges and universities, etc., students who come out or who pass out of these universities are of different kinds. There are some, of course, very self-motivated and meritorious students. Her Excellency spoke about some students who are so enthusiastic that they are trying to find where the network connectivity is available, and their that keenness is there to go and use that connectivity. But we also know that there are a large number of students who are not so self-motivated. And how do we use this opportunity to ensure that the learning outcomes are the best for them also? See, as we all understand, the university education basically has three learning outcomes. One, we want the students to come out with right kind of knowledge, whatever subject they are studying in the university, they must develop thorough knowledge in that subject. Second, the university students are typically at the threshold of entering into the job market, or some of them become entrepreneurs. So we also expect them to develop those kind of job skills, how to work in a company, how to communicate, how to work in a team, all these skills that we typically call as soft skills. If you're becoming an entrepreneur, then ability to run an organization, manage a team, and so on and so forth. And the third very important learning outcome is that university students typically are entering society as a mature adult. They are already, most of them have got the right to vote, so they can make judgments, political decisions. So we also expect them that their personality is holistically developed and they become very valuable and contributing members of the society. But as I mentioned a while ago, are we able to achieve 100% of these learning outcomes in a face-to-face classroom situation? JNTU, as all of you would be aware, is not only a teaching university. We have our own college in Kukatpalli, and as all of you know, Dr. Hari studied in that college. We have colleges in Sultanpur, Jagtial, Manthani, but we are also a degree granting and an administrative institution under which there are 240 other colleges. And as you would imagine, many of these colleges are in rural areas, remote areas. Because of their remoteness, the best faculty does not go to those kind of colleges. There are some institutions where the stream of revenues are less, so they are not able to provide a very high sophisticated laboratory. So multiple challenges are there. Students are not self-motivated, a vast majority of them. Then remoteness of the college, not able to attract the best faculty, etc., etc. So my opinion is that barring extremely bright students who get good quality facilities, we are not able to achieve these learning outcomes, these three outcomes that I spoke about: providing 100% knowledge, providing 100% skills, and developing the student's personality 100%. We fall short of all these things. That is the reality. I mean, we may deny it, but unfortunately, that is the reality. But at the same time, while this is the reality, is the present pandemic giving us a better opportunity to do some of these things in a different way and hope that those learning outcomes are improved? So my personal view is that we have that opportunity. And Honorable Her Excellency Ma'am spoke about online classes. We are so far only talking about an internet-based classroom. Like right now, we are all interacting. I see in my screen there are 41 participants. Lots of other eminent people are in this conference. But what about the broadcast medium? In fact, today, even if you are a very remotely located person, even if you come from a very poor family, there is a very strong likelihood, at least in Telangana, that you will own a television set which will be supported by a cable connection, and you will have access to multiple channels. Can we telecast lessons? when even if there is no internet, there is a television. So similarly, as Honorable Madam pointed out, some students will be keen. So even if you don't have internet access all the time, can I record my lessons and put them on YouTube, which you go and access at a later point in time whenever you have access to connectivity? And in my opinion, today we are not able to impart 100% knowledge to the student in a classroom because they are at a different pace of learning. A bright student will grasp everything. He will understand all the complicated engineering concepts which his professor is telling in the class itself, because he'll be attentive, he'll be understanding, he would have gone through some of these preliminary courses thoroughly, so he's able to grasp everything. But a large majority of them, they come to the class, the lecturer is telling something, it all goes above their head. But if you tell them that I have a recorded YouTube lesson, you can see it 2 times, you can see it 5 times, you can see it 10 times. So obviously the quantum of learning, the quality of learning, the depth of learning can be much, much better if you can think of this way. Honorable Ma'am mentioned of a very, very important concept. See, all of us have studied, we have completed our professional education and we are in our respective professions. I can tell you, I mean, I was introduced and you mentioned about, I've studied in the best possible universities, not just in this country. I have also studied in the best possible university in the United States. And I can tell you that despite going through the best possible universities, even I can still be honest and tell to you that I did not find every part of my course relevant to the work which I do. If you ask any engineer how much of what you learned in your classes is relevant to your job, you will find a very surprising answer. And the answer may even be 0%. You talk to any professional, barring medical professionals, because they learn actual ways of treatment and how to deal with the human body. So if you look at engineers or business management professionals, I've gone to a business school, I can tell you that very little of what was taught in my business school is relevant in the actual world. So then the question is that why do we so much focused on that course content itself? As Madam has been repeatedly pointing out, why don't we blend internship along with the course? Why don't we reduce the burden of memorizing some bookish things, reproducing it in an exams, getting some degree and claiming that I become a graduate or I become a postgraduate or I become a PhD? Why continue with this kind of a farce? Why not substitute all that, except for the very basic knowledge which every professional of that discipline must have? Why can't I substitute all that with internship? That's an extremely valuable point. And if it is not possible to do it physically, why don't we do it virtually? I'm sure all the IT companies, all the technology companies, manufacturing companies, they will be very happy to take interns on a payment basis, actually, because this is a circumstance where they typically have difficulties in making 100% wage payments to their staff because of the loss of revenues they suffered in the lockdown, etc. So if we can re-examine the way we are reaching our learning outcomes. I mentioned that development of skills is also a learning outcome, which of course is not something which is taught in a very direct way in our universities. But because this kind of a blended learning is a possibility, why not do that? Assessment also, why are we focused so much on an exam and then we are debating whether to have a real exam, that is a physical exam, or whether do we do an online exam? Why not have a scenario in which every module that you study, either through YouTube or through television, you are expected to answer some questions or write an essay or submit some assignment, which contributes to the grading of your knowledge and skill and performance, etc. So multiple ways in which we have to revamp our educational system so that the learning outcomes are better. And this is the right opportunity. I mean, multiple disruptions has happened in different kinds of activities. The disruption that we are seeing in the education sector is enormous, but it gives us a great opportunity to completely transform the way learning is thought of in a higher education institution. I'll be very keen. Of course, I'm a officiating vice chancellor, but somehow I have been able to complete almost 1 year of this officiating tenure. So if I'm retained for some more time, I'll be very happy to bring some of these reforms, some of these changes. And I'm very glad that we have such a knowledgeable and supportive chancellor in the form of Her Excellency, the Governor. So I would hope that these kind of reforms happen in Telangana. Telangana is known as a state which has pioneered reforms. I'm also the industry secretary. I'm also the IT secretary. All of you would be aware about the great strides we have taken in these sectors, and all that has happened because of reforms. So education is a great opportunity to reform in a very, very disruptive way. And I do hope that I'll get better ideas. I mean, these are just some of my ideas. I know lots of experts are there in today's seminar. I would like to listen to all of them and stay connected with all of them later on also. So I thank once again Dr. Hari Epannapalli. He's a very distinguished alumnus of our JNTU system. So thank you very much for organizing it. Congratulations to all of your colleagues in the Lead India Foundation US chapter also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. It's a wonderful message. I would like to echo Dr. Kalam's message again. He was born in a small fisherman village, became an aeronautical engineer, became a rocket scientist, a missile scientist, received the highest civilian honor, Bharat Ratna, and eventually became the President of India. He was a true citizen and providing opportunities to everybody like that. Some people are born in remote villages, some people born into Tata's, Birla's families. They have the access to all the natural and resources, but other people do not have. If the technology can fill that gap with the kind of message you provided, invest in education, invest in healthcare to keep India educated and keep India healthy. That was the motto Dr. Kalam promoted. Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful. And I would like to see your active participation in this kind of sessions because you are very knowledgeable based on your academic credentials. Wonderful experience that you could contribute to transforming the way we educate our children using technology. And COVID is an adversity, but now we need to turn this into an opportunity to transform our young, productive minds with appropriate skills. Skilling is important. When they graduate out of the school, they may not have the skills, but they are getting out with the degrees. So now with your message, you indicated that we need to have some kind of internship while they are in the college itself. They don't need to go get training again after they graduate. So they should have full employable skills the moment they come out to the graduate with their degree. So this is a very opportunistic time for us, India, to develop as a resource hub for the human resources to serve the world. Thank you very much, sir. It's a wonderful thing. For stay as long as you can, sir. Please listen to these experts. They came prepared to provide various recommendations that Telangana government can seriously consider implementing them. So now I would like to request a special guest that we have surprisingly joined us. So I would like to introduce Justice V. Ishwaraya Garu. He was the former National BC Commission Chairman at the national level. And he also served as the acting Chief Justice of High Court of Andhra Pradesh when the combined state was there. Now currently he's serving as the chairman of the Higher Education Regulatory Commission in the state of Andhra Pradesh. I would like to request Justice Ishwaraya ji to provide his brief remarks on the future of higher education and the kind of transformation he's looking into as the chairman of the Higher Education Regulatory Commission. Justice Ishwaraya.
Thank you, Hari. The Honorable Governor of the State of Telangana, Our Excellency, Sri Dr. Tamilisai Soundarajan, and my dear friend Hari Epannapalli, and Sri JS Ranjan IAS, and who is holding Secretary of IT and Industries also additional charge, and as a Vice Chancellor. When JS Ranjan was speaking, I was remembering my Vice Chancellor Jagan Mohan Reddy. Usmania University degrees were not used to be recognized by the foreign countries. In such a time, the Jagan Mohan Reddy came, then he again uplifted the quality and the value of the Usmania University. I think J.S. Ranjan also now is a very dynamic and excellent administrator. And such a man holding the two posts and requesting to continue, I think Honorable Governor and Chief Minister should request him as long as he would like to act as a Vice Chancellor of JNTU. Because such Vice Chancellors are there, then really it will be great transformation of the education system itself. insofar the education is concerned, I would like to say now there are physical education and another is spiritual education. Therefore, what we are learning today is everything for the well-being and for the wellness of the invisible and spiritual being only. Therefore, what we are learning today is a material education, and without knowing that this should be useful for the spiritual education. Therefore, the material education and non-material education. Recently, I am very happy to know that the spiritual education, some courses also have been introduced in the universities about the spiritual education. Then Annamalai University, then all other universities also, some classes have been introduced. Therefore, now insofar as the COVID-19 pandemic is concerned, what will be its effect on the future of the higher education? All of us know education is enlightenment. Education is knowledge. Education should be useful for the self, for the society, for the environment. Not the negative education, but it's a useful education. As the Vice Chancellor said, the many of the educationists who studies various courses, it's not useful for the day-to-day life. And except the medical education and legal education to some extent, but all other educations are at all not useful. Therefore, the technology, the skill has to be introduced in the education system. Unless the skills are introduced, he should be able to live independently, whether he gets a job or not. If he is an agriculturist, if he is whatever profession he is carrying, he belongs to whatever profession, he should be able to live with sustainable skills and with sustainable development. Therefore, insofar as about the education, Honorable Governor and Sri Vice Chancellor said, I will not go into the expertise of the subjects, but only I request the experts and the speakers, you please also put a thought, then what is the education? Education, you know, what kind of the education we have? What is the use of finding the atomic bombs or hydrogen bombs and the COVID in the Wuhan, this lab of the China? So what for that kind of the destructive education is not useful for the society, for the country, for the nature. And then one more thing, then excellently the Vice Chancellor said, it is for a change, it's for a paradigm change this COVID is making to learn every human being. There is a change in the lifestyle of each and every human being, each and every occupation, each and every field, each and every department. Therefore, we have to learn the lesson and overcome these tests. Today, maybe the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, maybe the earthquake. Tomorrow maybe the civil war. Day after tomorrow, maybe atomic wars. We don't know what is going to be become. Therefore, this is only a change. It's a transforming. This is a changing scenario. Therefore, nothing can be created, nothing can be destructed, but it transforms, it changes. Therefore, matter cannot be destructed, matter cannot be created, but it undergoes the changes only. Therefore, this planet will exist always, but it will change. Maybe some portion will completely inundated, completely this thing, some portion maybe come out of it. Therefore, now, why should we live under the fear, under the threat? Because the being doesn't die, soul doesn't die, we change our body only, because everything is an eternal. So therefore, it is, according to me, it is for a new beginning, new innovation. Once upon a time, we were having the highest civilization, Pushpaka Vimans, the sophisticated technology was there. Therefore, that kind of the technology we have to innovate now, and we should coexist. Therefore, this, as Vice Chancellor very innovatively stated, we have to introduce the new technology, new system, and COVID. Many people are dying because of the fear, because of the insecurity, because of not understanding. Then just now somebody says the COVID will not do anything for every human being. If you by hot water vapor, if you take 4 times, gargle 4 times, then 4 times something come kashayam something, COVID will not do nothing. But what happened? Suppose 2 months everything was locked down. No hospital, no patient was in the hospital. Environment is cleaned. Health has become so only mental makeup. It's a psychosomatic the fearness. Therefore, we should not fear for the COVID. We should not fear for anything because we exist for always. As we change our dress, we change our body and address. That's all. Therefore, everything for the better only, everything for the transformation, everything for the good only. We should have the tremendous positive attitude. Then go ahead. I think this COVID-19 is a beginning. Many more things, challenges are going to come. By this, we have to learn the technology. We have to learn to coexist. We have to learn to live because many more things are going to come. We have to face according to me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Justice Ishwaraya ji, for a wonderful message. So we need to transform these people into human beings as well. I think your spiritual message is truly need of the hour, and people are drifting away from nature. That's the reason we're having all these problems. And hopefully the governments can act and bring in. One message Dr. Kalam mentioned was encourage people to have dinner together. And those families who had dinner together, they stayed together in life. There's a study done in the UK, and they were more successful than compared to the people who did not have dinner together with their families. So this is something that Dr. Kalam wanted to promote as a spiritual education to develop peace and harmony, one family at a time. So whole nation will be in peace and the world will be in peace. Thank you very much, Justice Ishwaraya ji, for your wonderful message and coming on in a short notice. Be safe and be careful. So the next thing we're going to have is transition into our program for keynote speakers. So MCs, are you ready?
Yes.
So we have 3 MCs today. Madhuri Guje, who is going to manage the rest of the program. And we have Samir Ipanapalli, who is going to be the MC, and Vaishnavi Chipa. So they are wonderful, highly educated people. And all of them are from US. And I will have Madhuri to manage next segment of this keynote speakers.
We have 10 wonderful keynote and guest speakers today, and each have unique insight and ideas to share about the impact of COVID-19 on the future of higher education, challenges and opportunities. First, we have Professor Antonio Manuel Almeida Diaz. He is a doctor in medicine, physiological and pharmacological science. From 2000 to 2018, he was the scientific coordinator of 65 post-graduations in the health field. He has an executive master's in management and health administration and is now the president of the North Polytechnic Institute of Health, as well as director of the Ave Superior School of Health. He is the chairman of the board of directors at CESPU University and a professor of physiology and health sciences at varying institutions. He is also a part of the board of directors at PEA and works towards the development of educational institutions in Africa. Now, I would like to request Professor Diaz to deliver his keynote.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the organizers of this webinar for the invitation to be present as a speaker. What honors me a lot. I also want to salute all participants in this event and in a special way, Dr. Ari Apanapalli. I hope the result of this sharing of ideas and experiences will contribute to a preview of what higher education will be after the current pandemic. The proposed theme is challenging because, in addition to being extremely timely, it leads us to remove from a dangerous world public health situation what positive can introduce in the future of university education. My modest contribution to this webinar will be based on my experience as responsible for the CESPO group that manages a set of university institutions dedicated to teaching and research in areas of health science and technologies. CESPO is a polytechnic and university higher education cooperative created in 1982 in Portugal, and today it is also present in Angola, Brazil, Spain, and Morocco. Due to this geographical dispersion, we ended up having different experiences resulting from the impact of the pandemic, leading us to develop a set of actions that I will summarize. First, we interrupted the face-to-face classes, with theoretical classes being taught at a distance, supported by two major platforms, Moodle and Zoom. And at the same time, all academic and administrative service started to be developed in telework. In order to quickly achieve these objectives, we developed intensive courses and training sessions for all teachers and other workers. Second, we equipped all our facilities with necessary biosafety measures to guarantee a safe return to the institutions. Third, we started as possible practical classes and internships, these in a real work environment. This was the biggest challenge because the acquisition of clinical skills and the indispensable training for the exercise of the different professions in health sector is done in hospitals, clinics, and public health units. Fourth, we prepare institutions for the near future. On this point, we choose to provide guidance for the next academic year to be planned so that the activity is developed under the threat of new pandemic waves. In this sense, all planning includes theoretical distance learning and practical teaching in small groups of students and using all the necessary biosafety devices. From the experiences obtained so far, in addition to the strong adhesion of the whole community to the changes, I emphasize a greater presence of students in the theoretical classes taught via Zoom when compared to the presence in the classrooms. As for practical teaching, by reducing the number of students in each work group, there is a greater use of training time. In relation to the evaluation already carried out, there are no significant differences in relation to the previous years. With regard to scientific research, some of our group have temporarily slowed down their current activity to support the development of execution of COVID-19 diagnosis tests in partnership with other institutions. But after pandemic is over, how will universities be around the world? Despite being difficult to predict, I'm convinced that they will be institutions closer to the society and the economy. Teaching will have new technologies available, probably supported by advances in artificial intelligence. The educational model will probably fall on hybrid systems, like the one described by my good friend and colleague, Professor Garabal, from the Faculty of Medicine of University of Santiago Compostela in Spain. These changes will allow the best teachers to share their knowledge with students from different continents and will allow students from different universities around the world to have an appropriate training in universally accepted skills, allowing them to work in any region of the globe. With regard to scientific research and the respective production and dissemination of knowledge, I believe that there will be less and less political, cultural, and social barriers. It may be that this pandemic that has already caused so much damage to humanity will accelerate important changes in higher education, bringing it closer to universality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Diaz. It's a wonderful message. I'm glad you're already implementing a lot of technology in your institutions, and especially in the field of medicine, a lot more creativity. Most likely the virtual reality can come into play to provide hands-on virtual experience for your students. Again, thank you very much, and I look forward to getting your insights more to make some recommendations to different governments to act upon, especially on in the field of medicine. Now, I would like to request the MCs to introduce the next guest. Before doing that, I would like to recognize the presence of P. Narahari, IAS from Madhya Pradesh. He is the principal secretary there. And thank you, sir, for joining us. And depending on the time, we will give you some opportunity to speak as well later in the program. Madhuri, go ahead.
Our next speaker today is Dr. S. Srinivas Kumar, a faculty member of Electronics and Communication Engineering at Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Hyderabad, since 1987. Currently, he is Vice Chancellor at JNTU University, Anantapur. He has delivered more than 85 visiting lectures at reputed teaching institutes and has 69 research publications in national and international journals. He has supervised 14 PhD theses in the area of image processing and antennas, and is contributing to the development of JNTU Anantapur on the academics, infrastructure, and research front. Now I welcome Professor Kumar to deliver his keynote.
Very good day. Indeed, I'm very happy to associate with all the distinguished persons today. And a very happy American Independence Day. I wishing you all very happy time. Indeed, I would like to recollect and say that it is not only the American Independence Day, it is a great patriot Alluri Sitaramaraju Gari birthday also. And thereby attending to this function on the day of Alluri Sitaramarraju's birthday, I feel it very, very happy, great patriot. Indeed, higher education should be at the doorsteps of the poor persons. That leads to the development of the country, and I would like to present my views in this regard. Sri Krishna and Kuchela, they have become good friends only in the Gurukul, not through online. And they have become very, very closely related only through Gurukul. So I say that there is no substitute to the universities or the institutions, and it is only a sort of alternate approach. I will not say it is a substitute for the regular teaching. But still, the pandemic situation like COVID-19, we have to address this kind of situations. So we are going for the online mode of teaching. And knowledge acquisition, knowledge dissemination, knowledge application, knowledge preservation, knowledge creation, knowledge evaluation are the parameters to be considered in the education sector. And also the skills like professional skills, communication skills, presentation skills, and life skills are another aspect to be considered in the education sector. And human values to be built, and the harmony within self, within the organization, within the faculty members or family members, within the nature, and to be happy and make others to be happy are another important points to be considered. Today, the COVID-19 is only because of lack of harmony with the nature that has resulted this pandemic situation. And universities that provide the higher education should provide the platform to do needful, to think in these directions. And however, due to lack of capable faculty members, lack of quality library resources, and also laboratories are becoming a hindrance for the development of the higher education. Presently, the gross enrollment ratio, if we consider, it is hardly 27%, which is very less compared to the other developed and developing countries. The scenario is to be changed by allocating more budget for the education sector by both central governments as well as the state governments. And today, if we see, 80% of the students studying in the state universities and the affiliated universities or affiliated institutions are addressed by the state governments, which are not able to cater to the needs. Only 20% of the students studying in the higher learning institutions like IITs, central universities, NITs, IIMs are served by the central government funding. This scenario is to be changed definitely, and we should try to provide more budget for the education sector, in particular to the state universities and to the affiliating institutions. And GER means it is not gross enrollment ratio, it should be renamed as gross employment ratio. The reason is students are competent enough to meet the industrial requirements only if the employability or employment skills are improved. The quality of the research and education is only to obtain the degree, but not to meet the standards of the industries and society. Thereby, the quality of the education and GER both should be given equal importance. That is both quality and as well as quantifying. In the scenario of COVID-19, it is required to rethink about the quality education and facilities in the universities, and also facilities that can be offered by the government. Most of the students are not having the electronic gadgets. The bandwidth is insufficient. In such a scenario, trying to provide the online educations is very, very difficult, and we cannot make it more successful unless we try to provide the opportunity to learn the students and see that the bandwidth is provided to the students. And that is possible, as the Jayesh Ranjan rightly said, we have to provide the broadcast not only through the internet facility. The higher education in the rural areas have to be given emphasis by planning virtual university system. And what I mean to say virtual university system is online teaching, online examination, online evaluation, and university should offer the courses that are blended mode, that is both in online as well as offline. And instead of credits to be offered by the university, a credit bank can be considered, and student can attend the courses offered by different universities based on the vicinity, and online platform how to be planned. And the total credit needs to be reworked with self-financing, self-learning credits, classroom credits, and out of the campus earning credits and collaborative learning credits. Thereby the total number of credits is to be reworked out. And one of the major problems, bandwidth for the online teaching and evaluation, can be solved by discussing with ISRO officials and plan for constellation of satellites for education purpose, that is low orbit satellites, which can cater to the needs of the remote village students, so that we can reach the students who are in the remote villages. Another temporary problem that can solve to have the good bandwidth is the neighboring institutions to the student. That is Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University student is somewhere staying near to the Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Kakinada, and the student should be in a position to make use of the bandwidth that is available in the JNTU Kakinada, so that the student can make use of that particular bandwidth and the problem can be solved, because the bandwidth will not be the hindrance for education himself. And electronic gadgets, laptops should be made mandatory with support of the government and through bank loans or reasonable interests. And design of the new curriculum based on the application-oriented courses. In particular, Bloom's taxonomy or revised Bloom's taxonomy has to be considered. And instead of planning for library resources, it is good to plan for consortium of the institutions to procure library resources at lesser cost and for easy accessibility to the student. Rightly said, it is a mobile library that is very, very useful than having a fixed library. It is very important to plan for it. The internet service providers also should reduce the cost for the students. The entire economic model for the teaching organizations should be revamped and to reach to the poor students. Education, health, agriculture sectors are prime importance for the development of the country, and learn while earn or earn while learn have to be prime mottos for the poor students, and accordingly the government has to plan for the development of the education sector. MSMEs and agriculture sector both have to be integrated to provide the employment to the rural people while educating themselves to reach the heights. And poorness should not be the criteria to reach to the new heights due to the lack of education, and education should be made mandatory. Instead of giving importance for the employment, importance is to be given for the employable skills, and collaboration with the industries, higher learning institutions, and the foreign universities have to be planned. More online courses like SWAYAM have to be planned. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And with the collaboration of the foreign universities, the people who are working abroad, definitely India can solve many problems, and India will be the pioneering country. Definitely it is one of the best countries, and I'm sure we can easily overcome the COVID-19 problem, and we'll try to pioneer in many, not only the education sector, in many other sectors also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Srinivas Kumar, for joining us today and delivering a wonderful keynote. So I agree with you. I think there are a lot more collaborations have to happen with the developing countries and the developed countries like MITs, Harvard, Stanfords, have to share their knowledge at very low cost to propagate and educate the people, make it affordable, and reach the rural India as much as possible, and in Africa and other parts of the world. So skilling is also very important, and the skill development program has to be integrated fully into the regular colleges and universities. So the Government of India came up with a new education policy. I think because of the COVID, they need to rethink about it and republish with expert opinions from people like you. And it is still pending in the parliament as a bill. But hopefully it will be reconstituted and do that. I was delivering a keynote at the University of Bangalore on November 11th last year. And I made my points very clear that having the skills at the same time while educating is important. Thank you very much, sir. Now we would like to go to the next speaker. Before we do that, I just want to make one announcement. We're running about 40 minutes late, and please stick to your time schedules given to you for each one of us. We allocated some time. Please respect that so that we don't lose the live broadcast. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, Afaf Konja, is the former spokesperson for the UN General Assembly. As a communication expert, she has experience building strategic campaigns, chairing and moderating high-level UN meetings and conferences, and hosting and producing live talk shows. She has interviewed political and cross-sector leaders around the world, including heads of states and governments, the United Nations Secretary General, and UN General Assembly presidents. She focuses on sustainable development along with political, economic, and social issues in the global south. Now I request Ms. Konja to deliver her keynote address on why quality online higher education that embraces integrity is so necessary today.
Thank you so much,